Right, guys, welcome back to the channel once again, and of course, a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending out the Kharadron Overlords Battletome. I'm once again joined by Grant. Thank you very much for tuning in, Grant.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you're excited about this book.
I am, yes.
Nearly everything's changed.
Yeah, it's a big overhaul. I think for the better.
Yeah, definitely.
There's going to be changes to the current builds that do well, but I think you're going to see more armies, more KO armies that look like they should. Like boats are going to be coming back, I think.
Yeah. But there's more battle line options.
Yes.
There's point changes and war scroll changes across the board. And I think some of the ports are quite nasty.
Mm-hmm. There's some nice combos you can do.
Now, I'll say it straight off the bat, the boats went up in cost.
Yes.
But
one in particular, quite noticeably up in cost.
But how much more likely are you to take it now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, people were taking boats to drop in a unit and not really... That was kind of about it. You could take a big unit of units, you could drop it off, you could hang your Endrinriggers off the side, but you knew the boat was going to die.
Yeah.
Now the boat might not die.
So, if we look at the points, a lot of point changes here. I'm just going to run through everything because there's not that many. The Arcanaut Company is 90 points in his battle line. The Arcanaut Frigate...
30 points.
That dropped by 30, did you say? Sorry.
Yeah.
The Arcanaut Frigate is up to 250. But it's battle line in a Barak Zilfin port.
Yes.
Which is
but
massive.
It's up 50 points. I think that's fair.
Yeah. The Arcanaut Ironclad is 510 points.
Yeah, this one I think I need to... It seems like it's a bit too steep at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it's because it is such a jump. Maybe it isn't that much, but...
Yeah. The Ether Chemist is 90. The Etheric Navigator is 100. The Arcanaut Admiral is 140. Brock is 240. And an Endrinmaster with the dirigible suit is 220. That's the new guy, isn't it?
Yeah. I really like that model, actually. I think it's pretty cool.
And the Endrinriggers are 100 points, and they are battle line if that guy is your general.
Yeah. So good.
Grunstock Gunhauler is 150 points, and that's battle line if you go Barak Urbaz. Thunderers are battle line in Barak Nar and are 120 points. And Sky Wardens are 100 points and battle line if your general is in a dirigible suit.
So, looking at that off the top of my head, they've gone from 1 battle line to 6.
Yeah.
That gives them more battle line than Stormcast?
Yes.
That's got to be up there with some of the higher battle line.
Yeah.
Like in the game. Like obviously you're limited with some of them. You're only, you're always going to have Arcanaut. The most you can really have is 3 different options because you could have your dirigible character, then you pick a port that's got another option, and then you still be your Arcanaut. So it's limited, but yeah, going from 1 to 6 is going to just change everything.
Absolutely.
For the Overlords. No longer do you have to have 30 Arcanaut on your list before you start building your list.
No. So the allegiance abilities that have been shown off on the community page, we actually have Ether Gold. So if a unit is 10 or more models, which bearing in mind, that's probably only Thunderers or Arcanauts, unless you run a maximum Sky Wardens.
Yeah.
You get an Ether Gold. And you can spend your Ether Gold once per phase to use a Triumph.
Once per battle?
No, once per phase.
Really?
Yeah. Each unit can only use it once per battle, but in each phase...
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
So you could use one in your movement phase, one in your shooting phase, one in your charge phase.
Yeah, but each unit can only do it once per battle, yeah.
So obviously...
What do you say? Hold on.
Reroll failed hits you could use in the shooting phase on your Thunderers. You could then use reroll failed hits on your Arcanaut in the combat phase.
Yeah.
But if you do so, you subtract 1 for your bravery for the rest of the battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad a payoff because, I mean, realistically, you're probably going to be using Inspiring Presence anyway.
There's also various ports. I think there's one that lets you ignore Battle Shock, or there's command traits. There's
and things to re-roll Battle Shock. And things
I mean,
like that as well.
So it's not horrendous, and choosing what triumph and when you use it is big.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can just turn the game just so quickly.
Absolutely. There's then 3 parts of your code, and each part has 3 options. So you've got a possibility of 18 different combinations here. Some of them are okay, some of them are not so good. But for example, the first part, the article table, you can reroll hit rolls of a 1 for attacks made by Kharadron Overlord heroes, a target hero or monster, or you can reroll 1s for sky vessels, and that's just 2 of the examples. If you move to the amendment, which is the middle bit, in your first turn, friendly Kharadron Overlord units can run and still shoot later in the same turn. So you can do that with your sky vessels and everything as well.
Yep.
And then once per battle, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to a friendly sky vessel, which is pretty big. Or once per battle, you can reroll a charge roll for a Kharadron Overlord unit. So
yeah, and I think of note in particular here is that there's no trading with some people, which is what every single player took, has changed dramatically.
What was that?
So it used to be at the end of a phase, you could put D3 mortal wounds onto a unit. So it would often be you'd shoot a unit, you'd have 1 wound left, you'd say there's no trading with some people, and you'd take the unit off. So that was just because so it used to be your Skyports could always pick a footnote, and you would always just pick that one because it was just a free D3 mortal wounds.
Right.
So now it's once per battle, you can, if you've run or retreat, you can shoot and or charge. So it's a big change. So that's, but I don't think you'll see it as much because the Skyports now include a footnote, so you don't have to pick one now. As before, you would always be picking one. So
yeah, absolutely. Command traits. There's 24 command traits. I'm not going to go over them all because we're going to focus on the specific ports because the ports are quite nice. I think. Some things that we will mention though is the Great Endrin Works, which basically act as mount traits for your sky vessels. One in particular, the Ironclad plus 2 wounds. Bearing in mind it's now got a 3-up save.
So 20 wounds it would have now? It's 18, is it? Yeah.
20 wounds on a 3-up save, and that's not necessarily that easy to shift. Especially when you've got guys healing it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. You're going to be taking the boats, so you're going to be taking guys that can heal it now, so...
Yeah.
I mean, say you're up against like a Bone Splitter's army. They don't have rend.
No.
They're going to take them a long time to chew through something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is way to get Ether Gold onto units that don't have 10 or more models. So you can just go, I'm going to reroll my failed saves.
Yeah.
One of your favourite ones actually was Colbeard's collapsible compartments. So gun hauler. And
I don't think gun haulers could take Endrin Works before. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've looked at the book and I can't find my copy. But I have a funny feeling they couldn't take it before. So this now lets a single gun hauler take 5 models in it. So you could stick a little 5-man unit of Thunderers in your gun hauler, which nicely comes in the start collecting kit.
Yep.
So I like that. I think it's a nice little bonus. I also like the other one of the other ones from the gun hauler, the D3 extra move. It's maybe not essential, but it's nice.
Yep, it certainly is. So we'll move on to some of the ports. They can get quite complex because essentially you've got 4 buffs per port because of the way the code works. So Barak Nar is the first one. Do you want to go through this?
Right, let me just get that in front of me. Barak Nar. Yep. Okay, so the start of the battle round, the first battle round it is, roll a dice for each hero on the battlefield, including any that's garrisoned in your boats. And a 4+, you get an extra command point. It's not huge. Probably get a couple extra command points, and I don't think there's many ways to get command points in this army, so that's always nice. Reroll battle shock tests within 12 inches of a hero is your article. So again, if you spent your ether gold, even though you are -1, you can reroll the battle shocks.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a great one for going against magic because each hero can unbind a spell, and it's all at +1.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. And command trait is don't take battle shocks within 12 inches of a general.
So if you spend that ether gold, who cares?
Yep. And the artifact is change a hit roll or a save roll. So it's the artifact's nothing major. But the other big thing with Barak-Nar is it lets you take Thunderers as battleline.
Yeah.
Which I know plenty of people have been wanting from KO. So
Barak Zilfin is the next one. You can choose one extra sky vessel in your army to get a great Endrinwork, so you can get 2 mount traits essentially.
Yeah.
You can reroll hit rolls of a 1 for attacks made by sky vessels that target an enemy unit that can fly. That's pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
In your movement phase, you can declare a friendly Barak Zilfin unit will run. Do not make a run roll. Instead, add 6 to the move characteristics of all models in that unit. Okay. And then once per battle in your hero phase, one friendly unit can make a normal move. So you can move in your hero phase and then move in your movement phase.
Yeah.
And the command trait that you've got,
which is great to redeploy. That's really good if you've got a frigate that's overburdened, because you're moving twice, but you're halved both times, so you're still getting your full movement.
Or you can technically disengage in your hero phase, right? You then haven't retreated in your movement phase, so could you then recharge?
You've retreated that turn, so I don't think so.
Right. But even then, to get away like that fast...
Yeah. You could retreat and then move again onto an objective and run.
Or you could disengage and then use the fly high ability and go somewhere else on the battlefield.
Yep.
Which is a new mechanic, which we'll get to. So yeah, that's not bad. I think that's pretty cool. You can get an extra command point on a 5+ when you use them as well.
Yeah.
City of the Sun.
Yes.
Do you want to go with this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, +1 to wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by Skyfarers. So that's your bubble boys. And your Arcanauts and Thunders are all Skyfarers as well, aren't they? Or is it just the guys in the suits that get the Skyfarer keyword?
I'll double check. Arcanaut Company, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's just... Oh, no. Thunderers are.
Yeah, so it's all your infantry then.
No. Oh, no, that's the Ironclad. Arcanaut Company... Yeah, Skyfarer, all the infantry get it.
Yeah, okay. So let me... Yep, so you get +1 to wound when you make a charge roll, and +1 to hit when you make a charge roll.
Yep. That's massive.
Which is nice. Yeah, it is. Especially with the change to the chemist that we'll come to when we get there. I think if you're wanting to run a lot of your Endrinriggers and Skywardens, which with the new character are now battleline, then this is definitely something to consider running them in. So your code, reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made by heroes that target a hero or monster. So, alright. Add 2 to the bravery characteristics of friendly Skyfarers when they're within 12 inches of a sky vessel. So again, it gets around you potentially spending your ether gold because you can add +2 to your bravery. So, it's not bad. And once per battle in your hero phase, one friendly Skyfarers unit that's part of a garrison can leave that garrison. Set up that unit wholly within 3 inches of the sky vessel and more than 9 from enemy units.
It's the fact that it's in the hero phase that makes the difference.
Yeah. Which is, again, you can jump out and then your ship's free to do what you want.
Yep. And the command trait, when your general dies on a 2+, he gets back up with D3 wounds.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not huge, but,
It's not bad.
Exactly. And then your artifact is pick 1 weapons and add 2 attacks to it. which is, well, melee weapons, and add 2 attacks to it, which is never bad.
Nope, not at all. Barak Urbaz is the next one. Don't subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic when you spend your share of ether gold. And then your code is you can reroll battle shock tests for friendly Barak Urbaz units whilst they're wholly within the opponent's territory. The amendment...
Which, these ones aren't as good anymore.
No.
The territory ones, because the territories have changed so much.
Yep.
That a lot of them are quite small.
The amendment, though, is pick up the D3 friendly Urbaz units. Each of the units starts the battle with 1 share of ether gold in addition to any that they normally have. It doesn't say that the unit has to have 10 or more models.
No. So your 9-man unit of Endringers can take it, or your 20-man unit of Thunderers can have 2. It definitely opens up a lot of
give your Ironclad 1.
Yep.
And then your footnote is once per battle at the end of the combat phase, 1 Skyfarer unit that fought in that phase gains 1 share of ether gold.
So yeah, this is obviously, well, it is called the Market City, so this is where obviously all the gold is.
Yeah.
And the rules are reflecting that, which I do like. I think that's one thing that Games Workshop is definitely getting right a lot of the time, is these thematic cities and legions and whatever we get in all these books.
Yep, and the Chemist can take a different command trait, but it does replace his etheric augmentation ability, and it allows you to reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks made by these units, and it can't be used by an Ether Chemist that is part of a garrison, so he has to be out.
But it can affect 2 units, which is the big thing.
Yeah, 2. My bad.
And as you've obviously seen there, the Chemist no longer adds +1 to the attacks characteristic of weapons, so that's...
No. I'll go with the next one. Barak Mornar. Subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of enemy units whilst they're within 6 inches. It's not.
No.
It's not
Bravery's become such a almost meaningless thing to a lot of armies now, and not just Bone Reapers, but a lot of armies have enough command points that it doesn't matter, or abilities that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I would like Games Workshop to have a bit of a look at for AOS 3 whenever we get that.
I would say just get rid of Inspiring Presence.
Yeah.
Done.
I think that would make a big difference.
You can re-roll battle shock tests whilst you're in your opponent's territory. In your first turn, friendly Mornar units can run and still shoot. That's big.
Yeah, because they're a slow army if you're on foot. And just being able to get... Or if you overload your Ironclad, at least you can, run and still shoot. So you can still get a little bit further up the table.
Absolutely. And the footnote is you can pick a unit that's within 3 of the enemy, and you fight at the start of the combat phase, so before you make your first selection. That's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Barak
That's
Thring.
literally never a bad option.
No, Barak Thring is the next one, and you like this one, Grant. So I'm gonna let you explain this one.
Yeah. So if the main ability is if a friendly Skyfarer's model is slain whilst within 3 inches of an enemy on a 4+, the unit can fight before it's removed. So that's quite nice. It also doesn't say the model can't have fought first, so you can fight first, then die, and then still fight again.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So your article is you can pick up to 3 different enemy units, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made against those units. So it's not bad. So then the amendment. So 1 in 4 units in your army can be a Duardian unit that doesn't have the Overlord's keyword. So you're Dispossessed and your Fire Slayers. And they gain the keyword of the city port, the Barag Trang?
Yeah.
Drag? I'm not entirely sure I say most of these words. And then, because they gain the keyword, the footnote is that once per battle at the start of your shooting phase or combat phase, you can pick 1 unit, and the unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 2 hits.
Yeah. So
you can put that on a unit of Hearthguard Berserkers that you've taken as part of your army.
1 unit of 20.
Yes.
And technically,
it does kind of shore up the change, like, because also you're not going to have your big unit of Endrinriggers being your melee threats, so you can have some Fire Slayers here, and obviously a lot of people will have Fire Slayers armies since they just got their updates, so it could be a nice way to expand into Overlords as well by still keeping that unit that you know and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, add 1 to the hit rolls, and if you're rolling a modified wound roll of a 6, it does D3 mortal wounds instead. So
yeah,
it's not bad. However, the battalions, I don't think any of them are great, apart from one might be possible. So Iron Sky Command don't take battle shock tests for friendly Kharadron Overlords whilst they're wholly within 18 of the Ironclad. You need an Ironclad, 3 units, either an Ether Chemist, an Etheric Navigator, or Endrinmaster, 1 Arcanaut Company, and 1 to 3 Endrinrigger units. It's okay, but as you saw, there's so many ways to already ignore or reroll battle shock.
I think it's one of those things. If you're taking all those units, it's probably worth looking at the battalion just to get your drops down and get the extra command point, artifact, etc.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of them's worth building around.
No. The next one might be Arcanaut frigates. Take 2+ Arcanaut frigates, and then you have to take an Arcanaut company for each frigate that you take. Okay? Now, obviously, if you go for the one where your frigate's a battle line, it's probably not a bad shout. But what you can do is you can leave the Arcanaut frigate from the same battalion either before or after it's moved, because normally you have to leave before. In addition, roll 3d6 instead of 2d6 when making charge rolls for Arcanaut Company units from this battalion that left the frigate in the same turn.
Yeah.
So 3d6 charge after you've already moved your frigate. That's
good.
Decent, especially when you look at the Arcanaut Company, and of course there's ways to get them +1 to hit and stuff as well.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You still don't always want your Arcanaut Company in combat, but for the right time at the right moment, it's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the bottom one is Grundstock Escort Wing, which is 2 to 3 haulers, 1 Ironclad or frigate, 1 Thunderers unit, and 0 to 3 Sky Wardens. At the start of your shooting phase, pick 1 enemy unit from this battalion to focus fire on. If you do so, you can re-roll hit rolls of a 1 for attacks made by units from this battalion that target that unit. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But warscrolls. Lots and lots of changes. So I don't think Brock changed very much.
No, I wasn't too familiar with Brock's scroll prior to this.
But the big one, the new guy, the Endrinmaster with dirigible suit.
Yeah.
So he's armed with an ether cannon, dirigible weapon suit battery, gears of Grungni, and an ethermatic saw. So he's got all sorts of different attacks. He's got 8 wounds with a movement 12 and a 3-up save. I'm not going to go through all of his stats because there's a lot.
He's actually a great shout for that artifact that gives you +2 attacks, and he has 5 attacks with his Aethermatic Saw.
That is a very good point.
3s and 2s -2 D3 damage. He would be quite fighty.
Yeah, and of course his weapons shooting, he can still plink off quite a few wounds.
Oh yeah.
Going in as well. He can hitch a ride on a sky vessel. Before it uses its fly high ability, and then can redeploy with it. Which actually we should probably cover that before we go over the rest of the war scrolls. We'll cover the Endrinmaster and then we'll go and look at the boats.
Yeah.
But no more than 7 models can now hitch a lift on a sky vessel.
Yeah, so that's a big change.
Yeah. And his command ability lets you re-roll any of the dice that determine how many wounds are healed by Endrinriggers when you're healing your boats. So,
which I think before might not have been such a big deal, but now that the boats are so much more durable,
yeah,
I think it's really going to help them.
Yeah. So let's have a look at the Arcanaut Ironclad first of all.
Yeah.
It's got a 3-up save.
Yes.
Its rules have changed massively.
Yeah.
So in your hero phase, you can heal 1 wound allocated to this model. In addition, you can re-roll run rolls for this model. You just get that.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, if you need to redeploy it,
every turn,
especially if you've got the run and shoot turn 1, you can re-roll your run. Yeah. You're going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, and the fact that you just get a wound back every turn now, is brilliant. The bombs changed. They're not as good as what they used to be.
Yeah, there's no more of the fights last bomb. It's done away with.
But they've got the disengage rule. This model and any models in its garrison can still shoot if this model retreats in the same turn, as long as there are no enemy units that can fly within 3 of this model at the start of the retreat move. And there are less than 10 wounds allocated to it. So as long as it hasn't taken 10 wounds or more, it can retreat and still shoot, as long as the opponent doesn't have fly.
And the other thing to bring up that's new is the garrisoning.
Yeah. The fact that
so now
garrisoning...
You can shoot out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, which is massive, because if you've got Thunderers in there as well...
Yeah. It's just a crazy amount of firepower.
And the other special rule that we've got is fly high. Instead of making a normal move with this model, if there are less than 7 wounds currently allocated to it, you can say that it will fly high. It can retreat and disengage. If you do so, remove the model from the battlefield and set it up again more than 1 inch from any terrain features or objectives and more than 9 inches away from enemy models. And of course you can drop down your Sky Wardens and stuff with them if they've moved on. Which is fantastic.
Yeah, teleports are always good.
Yeah,
I mean, you can never go wrong being able just to pick up and move across the table to where you need to be. Great, and there's so many missions that are objective based that you don't know where it's going to be. So if you can just pick up your unit, and drop it near it,
it's not even just one unit though. It's several. And of course, if you take the port that lets you get out after,
you can just drop out once you've
not the port, the battalion that lets you get your Arcanaut out afterwards, and then you've got a 3d6 charge onto an objective.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. I think some of the damage.
I think these guys should be a bit more movable than most dwarves because they've got the boats, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
this book.
There's a lot of way to move around with this now. There's a lot of run and shoot. There's a lot of disengage and shoot, which is very good. And of course, the fact that it's now garrison, and like you said rightly, you can shoot out of it now, which is great. Correct us if I'm wrong, but I think some of the stat lines on the weapons went up a little bit as well.
Yeah, your big guns. Well, you've also now got 2 profiles for your cannons. Like the ogres, we've got like a scatter shot and a shell, which is nice. But yeah, everything hits on 3s instead of 4s for your big guns,
which is massive.
Which is such a pain with them before.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got this big shooting army with these big shooting boats, and they had low armor saves, and they hit on 4s, and you just didn't see them, and it's a shame because they're probably some of the nicest models in Age of Sigmar.
Oh, absolutely.
I think like all the Arcanaut line the Kharadron line is great, but the boats in particular are just such great centerpieces for the army, and you just didn't see them.
No, and I really do think you might actually see. I don't think they're going to be a top tier army, but
no,
they're going to be a fun army to play. I think they're going to be along the lines of
someone's going to run an all-frigate
and Gloomspite. I see them around that tier.
Yeah, but I think they'll catch people out. Their movement's going to catch people out.
If you get a very smart player with them who knows what they're doing and how the game works, they could dance around you quite easily with this.
Yeah, and shooting's so strong anyway. There's not a lot of shooting dedicated armies. This has always kind of been the main one. So with the ability to move, to disengage, to relocate, to shoot again, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
and of course this will affect
the fact that a board can disengage
Sigmar as well with Tempest Eye.
Yeah, I think the fact that you can disengage with a boat, still shoot with your boat, and then still shoot with Thunderers out.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine an Ironclad with 20 Thunderers in.
Yeah, I mean, it's 25, I think. Is it? Oh, the unit max out of 20 though, doesn't it? Yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's
I think it's great. Of course, you've got like sky hooks and sky cannons, which give you additional bonuses to charge rolls and things like that.
The Aether Carbines as well are now 2 damage instead of 1 damage on the boats, which is, again, just more output.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much, those rules that we've covered do cover the other 2 boats as well, but their saves actually went up to a 4 from a 5 up.
Yeah.
But essentially they get fly high and disengage, and the sky cannon and the sky hook and stuff, that their abilities all help.
And the gun hollow doesn't degrade because only 10 wounds, so it can always disengage.
Yeah.
So they're going to be quite potentially nimble little things to pin down.
And of course, if you take the trait that give them 5 transport capacity, and you've got the 5 Thunderers in.
Yep.
There you go. So I think they are going to catch a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to the heroes. We've got the Arcanaut Admiral.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty decent now. He's got 4 different command traits that we can use whilst he's garrisoned. So you can, for example, repel borders, let you add 1 to hit rolls for attacks by the sky vessel and any models that's garrisoned in it, so they can fight out with +1 to hit. Up and at him, you can use the command ability to start the charge phase, pick a friendly Skyfarer's unit that's wholly within 12, and you can re-roll charge rolls for that unit.
Which could be handy for a 3d6 inch charge, 3d6 inch rollable charge.
Exactly, if you drop 20 Arcanauts out of a frigate, and then you've got On My Mark Fire, pick a friendly sky vessel, and you can re-roll hit rolls for 1 for attacks made by the sky vessel in that phase. So there's a lot of what's it called?
Flexibility.
Yeah, I was going to say variety. Yeah, there's a lot there with him. He's quite good. The Etheric Navigator changed because his ability of the Ether Storm was only 18 inches. It's now 36.
It's gotten a bit longer.
36.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it always looked like a good ability, but you never wanted him that close. But 36 is...
You don't even have to move.
No.
And of course, you can re-roll run and charge rolls for sky vessels that are visible to him and not attempted, as long as he hasn't attempted to use the Ether Storm ability. So, I think he's pretty decent.
I think he's got 3 up saves as well. I'm not sure what they had before, but
yeah,
the Admiral and the Navigator. So they're, not terrible.
Nope, not at all. The Endrinmaster and the Ether Chemist are next. Do you want to take these ones?
Yeah, so the Endrinmaster, so it's the one with engine harness, not the one also in the dirigible suit. So he has, again, unmodified hit rolls for attacks. A melee weapon is a 6, and attack can inflict 3 mortal wounds. He can heal D3 wounds to a sky vessel.
Yeah.
And his command ability is let the engine riggers re-roll their engine craft ability, much like the Endrinmaster.
Yeah.
Dirigible suit. So yeah, I think you're probably going to take the one in dirigible suit over him, but he's in the start collecting set, so if you've got one, it's not going to come in wrong. The Chemist is the big change.
When people taking like 4 or 5 chemists years ago,
recently you've been taking 2. One to buff your unit of 40 Arcanaut and one to buff your engine riggers. Or to buff your Thunderers. That was another one. But yeah, that's gone. It doesn't do the +1 attacks anymore. Now what it lets you do is reroll wound rolls of 1.
Yeah. It's not bad.
And it can't be used. It cannot be used if it's garrisoned or on a unit that is garrisoned.
Yeah.
So, it's not a bad ability, but it's not as good as it was.
No, absolutely not.
Again, if anyone thought that was staying, they were kidding themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Arcanaut Company did change slightly. You now have to take 1 in every 10 models can replace their pistol with each of the weapons. So you can't take 3 or 4 skyhooks per 10. You've got to take 1 in 10. And they've got Glory Seekers as well. I'd want to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit whilst it's wholly within 9 of an objective. And this goes back to that battalion that we mentioned where you can take charge 3d6 after your boat has moved. And then, of course, if you give them +1 to hit as well. And then if you spend the Ether Gold, you can do something else with them as well on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, they're not great, but if you can get them onto an objective and you've got large numbers there...
So you can add 1 to hit rolls, and you can reroll wound rolls as a triumph, I think, is it? Yeah. So, I mean, just weight of dice is going to do something, hopefully.
It should.
Because if at that case, you'd probably take the Sky Pikes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, say you've got 20 units as 4 attacks. Yeah. You're just going to go for weight of dice and get as much bodies onto objective as you can.
Absolutely.
But then that's what it's all about. Getting those objective points is what wins you games.
Absolutely. So, Thunderers, I don't think... They did change again slightly. I mean, they were updated probably 18 months ago when the General's Handbook 18 come out, and they specified that you had to take 1 of each weapon before you couldn't just
spam whichever one they wanted. The mortar or something was the big one, I think.
Yeah, so that was changed a while ago, but they lost an ability, didn't they?
Yeah, they can now no longer retreat when they're chosen to attack. But now they can get +1 to their attacks characteristic of their missile weapons when they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit.
Yeah. The problem that I've got with units like this, Grant, is...
they're 2 wounds.
Oh!
I just noticed that, yeah. So that's big.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they've gone to 2 wounds.
Wow. Okay, I'm a bit gobsmacked at that, but yeah, cool.
Yeah. So they're a bit more survivable in combat now then to be able to use that ability in the following turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. That was unexpected.
And of course, if you've got any of the reroll hit rolls of a 1 and stuff like that in combat...
How much did their points change by to gain that extra wound?
Thunderers are 120 for 5. They were, when I find it, I've got the book here, I'm just looking now. Thunderers
90.
So they've gone up by 30 points.
But you've doubled your wounds.
Your unit size.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, losing the retreat is big, but I think the extra wounds helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if you're taking a unit of 10 of them, and you're spending command points and stuff to buff them, that's...
Put a unit of 20 into an Ironclad. That's a 40 wounds unit.
Yeah.
With 40 shots coming out of it a turn.
Yeah.
Spend Ether Gold to reroll all those hits.
Well, you've got a lot more shooting than what you had, because the Ether Shot's 2 shots, the double-barreled Ether Shot rifle is 4 shots, the Fumigator is 3, the Deck Sweeper is 4.
I still don't know if you want to take all the weapons or not. I don't know. Probably you do now.
Mm-hmm.
Or some of them anyway.
Yeah.
The double-barreled one is an obvious take because it's just doubling your shots.
Yeah.
Everything else you probably need to sit down and have a think about. I'm not sure. Just because I've not really thought about it. The Aether Cannon's a good one because it's -2 random D3 damage.
Yeah.
And you can get +1 to hit rolls for attacks with the Mortar, Deck Sweeper, or Aether Cannon when it's used by a unit that has at least one of these and at least one Deck Sweeper. So, maybe you are starting to look at taking all the different options now.
And then, of course, we've got the Endrinriggers and the Sky Wardens.
Yes. Which can be battleline.
Yes.
A whole floating army.
I don't think a whole... Did these have 2 wounds each before?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Right. I don't think a whole lot has changed other than the fact that obviously only 7 guys can hook onto a Sky Vessel now.
Yeah. and you're not being able to buff them with the chems, which was always the big thing that you did before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think now there is potentially look for the Sky Warrens to be better.
Yeah, because I mean they've got two attacks, but they only hit on 4s instead of 3s, and the wound on 3s instead of 2s, and they're only -1 instead of -2. But you've got twice as many attacks.
And you can go in the port that gives you +1 to hit and wound on the charge.
Exactly.
So then you're 3s and 2s.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the whole book. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, I think Thunders are going to need a really strong look at to determine the loadout. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion on what to do there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think by default you obviously want to put in... So I think it's maybe just a sergeant that can take the double-barreled Aether Shock Rifle, actually. Yeah, so it's just a sergeant that can take the double-barreled rifle.
Yeah.
So you do that, and then you definitely want some Aether Cannons now, I think. If you've lost the ability to buff them, in fact, that's another source of -2 rounded D3 damage. That's... that's never to be sniffed at.
No, not at all. Well, listen, guys, I'm quite excited about this, and I hope it does mean that there's a lot more Kharadron Overlord armies on the battlefield. They are some of the best models that are out for Age of Sigmar, and they're just so underappreciated.
Hold on a minute.
No, have you found something?
Well, more something that I think we didn't speak about. I just want to just check something. Oh, no, it's okay. It was the Drill Bill, which is the little bird. I just noticed he's a really prominent focus on the cover of the book.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, I thought he had an ability, but he's just a melee attack. D3 attacks, 4 and 4 is -1/1. I couldn't remember what the Drill Bills did. And I was like, if they removed them and put them on the cover at the same time. But no. Yeah, he's just there.
But I hope you're going to see a lot more people playing this army, even if it is just for fun. Like I said, I think we've certainly got teeth, and I think in the hands of a competent player that can do reasonably well. But I certainly don't think it's going to be at the top. I think out of these two releases, I think the Tzeentch book is definitely the stronger book.
I think so. But then I think we really need to see how the Thunder unit's going to play out. I think that's going to be a big thing to see. See how the boats play out and stuff. And I think a lot of people have KO armies as well because they're such a unique model line.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people have all the Thunders modeled with rifles, so maybe it's going to be a while until we see how the mixed units perform, if they're going to be the answer or not.
Yeah.
But a shooting army is always good to have in the mix, in the meta. Like, there's not really much. I mean, there's Shootcast kicking about, but it's not
a little bit of cities.
Amazing. Yeah. Cities, again, magic heavy, and the handgunners and the bridge and everything. So no, I think there's definitely something there. There's a lot of big D6 damage weapons, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so
pretty maneuverable.
Listen, guys, a massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending this out, and of course a massive thank you to Grant for joining me for this review. Please go out and check out the review that we've done for the Disciples of Tzeentch Battletome as well, and of course check out the rest of the channel for battle reports and more. But in the meantime, guys, thank you very much for listening. Grant, thank you very much for joining me again.
Yes, thank you again for letting me be here.
Not a problem, and we'll see you guys very soon.